Good to be back. It's good to be alive. How you doing today, Deuce?
A little slow this week after our boy Tundra got married, but can't complain. Still going strong.
Another good one gone.
Yep. Yeah, it was a good time. Congrats to them. Pure Michigan. It's all it's cracked up to be. It's beautiful up there.
Perfect time of year to visit.
Yeah, that's if you're a golfer, I think that's a must trip at some point. You could just tell that everything up there was prime this time of year.
Well, speaking of golf, give me your thoughts on what transpired at Conway Farms.
Well, I think there's some good golf being played, but I think it was more of an indictment on Conway Farms. Third or fourth time we've seen it, and the guys just chewed the place up. Chicago is such a good golf town. I cannot believe that Conway Farms is the best course they can put out for the tour. So I wouldn't be shocked if this is the last time they stop there. But Mark Leishman putting on a show. He is really coming to his own this year. Hits it well, hits it long, putts it well, and he kind of just bashed everyone's head in this weekend.
How surprising was that to you?
Not that surprising. He was in the hunt the week before, and he won Bay Hill earlier this year. So the guy can play. He's one of the more underrated global players I think there is right now.
Anything surprise you in a good or bad way at Conway Farms, player-wise?
Not really. I guess maybe that the big names didn't make more of a run. The big names meaning Spieth, JT, DJ. The top ones, yeah, and I know Fowler's a big name, but that second place only moved him up to 6 in the FedEx Cup. I was a little surprised that one of those top 3 in the FedEx Cup didn't try to stick a fork in the others this week.
How many guys could win the Tour Championship, or the FedEx Cup, I should say, in this weekend?
Well, there's a bunch of people that can win statistically, mathematically, just like Bill Haas did a few years ago, kind of coming out of nowhere. But that would need a million things to happen. So really, you're looking at Spieth, Thomas, DJ, Leishman, John Rahm. Those top 5 really have the best chance if they take care of business. I think Fowler, Matsuyama, Rose, 6, 7, 8. They're in like that 25% range where they need some help up top. But really, the top 5 they control their own destiny.
Of those top 5, does this course set up better for one than the others?
It's interesting because it's long, so you would think immediately, oh, Thomas Dustin, but the greens are very slopey. The old Don Ross, which you know well, if you can't putt them, it's tough to win. We've seen multiple different styles have success. Specifically, Spieth's won here before, so you got to give the edge to him just because of the way he's playing, and he's won here before. Just out of those top 5, that would probably be my pick.
Any under-the-radar guys that can make a run just this weekend?
I'll go down to number 8. That's as far as I'm willing to go. Justin Rose sits 8th. We haven't heard much from him since losing at Augusta. But he really likes this course. Couple runner-ups. The worst finish he's had at East Lake is 6th. So if he wins this week and gets some help from boys ahead of him, he could sneak something in here.
Any other golf news?
Tiger Woods' tournament, just kind of local golf news, is currently without a sponsor for next year, even though it is on the schedule. So it is going to be called just the National, but there is no host site. Congressional is no longer the host site, so they are still looking for a host site, even though we're only 8 months out.
Any rumors or courses being floated around?
There's a few rumors. People can go check it out. But basically, at this point, everything's a rumor. I've heard taking the tour back up to Minnesota or Wisconsin area, like Milwaukee. I've heard maybe sticking a tournament at Kentucky. Philadelphia's without a tournament. So the rumors are everywhere, but who knows for sure.
Will Tiger play in his tournament next year?
I'm going to say no. I think he's done playing golf.
Wow. I didn't expect you to say that.
I just think it's been too much. It's been too long.
Well, we'll tweet out any value plays or picks you may have as we inch closer to the Tour Championship. But
Yeah, I might have 2 or 3 actually.
shifting gears to the college football, I know you probably didn't see much with Tundra's wedding, but give me your thoughts on what you did see or read.
The slate wasn't great this weekend, so I wasn't too upset to have not seen much. I guess the most surprising thing to me was LSU just getting blasted at Mississippi State. Michigan kind of struggled with Air Force, which we kind of expected. I would say if I had one most impressive thing I saw, and it's hard to say because at Pitt, I don't think Pitt's that great, but Pitt did give Penn State somewhat of a game. But Oklahoma State's offense is just unbelievable to watch. So that was the most impressive thing I saw was that first half by Mason Rudolph and company.
Yeah, you were probably at the wedding, but I thought Clemson was so impressive on Saturday night in Louisville.
I didn't get to see any of that.
They've moved up to the best team in the country, in my eyes.
Wow, that dominant.
I think they still have that spread offense that could spread Alabama out. I think they're one of the few teams that could beat them. Disappointing-wise, I'm very disappointed and down on USC.
Yeah, good game with the Longhorns there.
And Stanford losing to San Diego State. Maybe USC is back where we thought they were, not as good as we thought, or as the country thought.
I didn't get to see any of that game. I caught maybe 5 minutes of it late. It's weird. Darnold looks really good a lot of the times, but he's thrown 2 picks in every game now, which I think says something.
7 touchdowns, 6 picks. I will tip my hat. Unbelievable drive late in regulation to send it to overtime, and then a big-time throw in overtime. And I thought on the lines of quarterbacks, Rosen was fairly impressive at Memphis. I don't think his offensive line is very good, so there are some throws that he forces. Whether that's who he is or he just tries to do too much with that team, I guess time will tell.
I watched a lot of the UCLA-Memphis game, actually, leading up to Dan's wedding. We were sitting in the clubhouse. I think Rosen has the highest ceiling and potential of any of these quarterbacks. When he throws it, it's like, wow, he throws a great ball, but he makes some really, really dumb decisions.
I agree completely. It would be nice to see him go to a quarterback or to a coach who is a quarterback-friendly coach.
Yes, someone like they just drafted Mahomes, so not going to have him. But Andy Reid, someone like that, I think Rosen could be really good.
Anything else on college?
You just hit it a little bit, but Stanford losing to a good San Diego State team, but very disappointing, especially for somebody that had an over-under total on them this year.
I agree. Great spot for San Diego State with Stanford coming off the USC game, but still disappointing for Stanford nonetheless.
Yeah.
I think we'll find out about a couple more teams this weekend. I think I saw 8 of the top 10 go on the road.
Nice.
To Varsity Sunday. Thoughts? I know after week 1 you don't want to overreact, but after 2 weeks I think it starts to tell a little bit more of a clear picture.
Definitely, and I think we didn't have a podcast because I was away, but I thought there were some glaring lines out there that Vegas put out for the overreactors. Specifically that Patriots line, everyone was kind of like, whoa, that seems way too high for a terrible Patriots team. And I thought their defense looked really good against Drew Brees and Michael Thomas. Mark Ingram, Adrian Peterson didn't do anything, and obviously Brady just cut them to pieces. So to me, that was the one overreaction team that really said, wait a second.
Staying on the topic of the Pats, I think we'll find out a little bit more about them the next 3 weeks. Houston and Carolina, in New England the next 2 weeks, and then they travel to Tampa for a Thursday night affair.
Yeah, some good games coming up for them. Brady Gronk got involved. Chris Hogan scored. Brady put up huge numbers. What I really like about the potential they have, now we'll see if the offensive line can hold up all year, they have a stable of running backs now. I think that they can control the clock. We've seen this in the past where a team comes in thinking they're going to game plan against Brady and all these receivers, and then Belichick just runs the ball down their throat for 4 hours. I think they have that ability again.
I would agree with that, especially with the loss of Edelman. I think going to control the clock to help that defense out is the route you're going to start to see.
Yep.
Other takeaways.
You know, disappointing that Sam Bradford couldn't play because I thought that was going to be a pretty good game. I watched the majority of the Eagles-Chiefs game. That was a great game. The Eagles were the better team, and kind of one play kind of changed that game, which was disappointing. I thought we were on the right side, kind of with the Eagles winning there. Other than that, the biggest thing that I noticed was there was a blueprint put out on Sunday, and it was by the Denver Broncos, and it was a real indictment against the Cowboys in that offense.
One thing really stood out to me in Dallas-Denver game is I wasn't sure if I was seeing things week one. I gave it another week. Des Bryant does not have the explosiveness that he used to have.
No, great point. He had 2 foot injuries, I believe, in a 4-year span, or 3.5 years. And, you know, he's still a physical presence, but he cannot separate from a decent corner right now.
They need to find some speed on the outside, or we're going to see a lot more teams do what Denver did.
You know, speed is... You can go find a fast guy, but he might not be able to catch. Speed's a tough thing to find out there at this point of the year.
The other blueprint I thought was put out was Buffalo and McDermott really shutting down Carolina. Now,
Carolina's offense has looked terrible the last 2 weeks.
And a huge blow with Olsen, at least 6 weeks with a broken foot. They get New Orleans this week, so they may go 3-0, but I'm not very impressed with them.
Best case scenario, if you're a better out there, is if Carolina goes 3-0. I think you can start to pound them the other way the following weeks if that's the case. But where's Kelvin Benjamin, man? I thought he was going to have a nice bounce back year. He should be utilized more. And Christian McCaffrey, they haven't really used him like I thought they would.
That's the one that's most surprising to me.
Very weird.
Takeaways on the Miami Dolphins. I may have a hot take on him.
I know, we both sort of, you were higher on them than I was. We both sort of liked the Cutler-Gaines connection. I was more in the camp that it won't last for 16 games, so the jury's still out. I really like their defensive line, but pretty surprised, not that it was a close game, but that they actually pulled it out in L.A.
They get the Jets this week, then New Orleans and Tennessee at home. The schedule is set up for them to go 4-0. I don't like the fact that the bye week, they lost their bye week, but I think they're going to hang around in this division, and I don't think New England is a hands-down favorite to win this division anymore.
What do they have to do to sustain this for the whole season, in your mind?
It's going to come down to one man. And you know he's going to give 1 or 2 games away, and I think that's going to end up being the difference. But if he could somehow stay within himself, as he did Sunday, they have the weapons to dink and dunk down the field. I think Landry had 13 catches. Parker had 5 catches. Throw in Ajayi. I like their offense, and as you said, their defensive line can cause some trouble.
Very, very interesting. I'm looking right now to try to find odds on the AFC East currently. I'm having trouble finding it, but maybe we can come back to it here in a minute once I find it.
And the one other thing that stuck out to me is how bad Seattle's offensive line is. I know we touched upon it after week 1, but it is awful.
Yeah, I was really high on Seattle. I just thought their defense would basically win 11 games for them, which I still think they can do, and I'm not sure maybe this weekend was just a little bit of an overlooking San Francisco, in division opponent. Maybe had something to do with it, but it's 2 weeks in a row that I don't care if you like Russell Wilson or you don't like Russell Wilson. He can't even drop back without being attacked. They need to just pound the ball and get some of those defenders off the line.
What happens in Cincinnati?
I don't know. Maybe I did not realize. I thought it was maybe 10 or 11 years. I did not realize Marvin Lewis had been there 15 years.
I probably have asked you every year that we've been doing this podcast, but is he finally on the hot seat?
No, he's got to be. So I've looked this up before week 1. Chuck Pagano was 3-1 for first coach fired. Marvin Lewis was 9-1. I don't have a live line on it, but it has to be even odds right
now. Miami is plus 500.
I thought it would be a little higher than that, actually. I don't know if that's rich enough for me.
No, I think we need them to lose a game and then see what they're at.
Yeah. I was thinking more in the 750, 800 range is what I'd want.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Well, let's get into guess the lines. Official picks last week went 4-2, 2-1 on both NFL and NCAA. We're back to 500 on the year.
There we go.
Good week for the leans as well. 5-2 NFL, 3-3 NCAA, 8-5 for the week, and 19-13 on the year with our leans.
There we go.
Guess the lines. I'm up 1-0. We start Thursday night in San Fran. The Los Angeles Rams in town.
Did somebody pick the Thursday night games before the season? The London and the Thursday night games always seem to be just so awful. I don't understand it. Anyway,
I think that I don't know what they could do, but the Thursday night game has to go.
It's terrible for the brand of football.
Would pushing it back one day to Friday night do anything?
I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, obviously it's another day to prepare.
Yeah.
I don't know if the viewership would be the same Friday night as Thursday night. I would assume so.
Sure.
But I agree. They got to do something to fix it because the product they're putting out on Thursday specifically is terrible. Rams at Niners. I said Niners -1 in a sneaky line.
I had Rams -2. It's opened Rams -3.
Interesting. No real lean here early on.
I'm assuming you watched most of the Rams-Hearts game on Sunday. Your takeaways on the Rams?
They have some pieces. I like McVay. It kind of comes down to Goff. I hate to say it, and I know it's not a hot take or anything, but he's just okay right now. He's barely okay. Gurley looked really good. So if they can get a team to push around like they did Washington, they'll be okay. But they just don't, I don't know. Sammy Watkins is non-existent. Their roster isn't as talented offense yet as it should be.
Any leans or thoughts on this Thursday game?
This would be a sneaky one. San Francisco's been pesky. Was pesky last week. They're very similar teams to me on offense. The Rams have obviously much more talent on defense, but I don't know. I have a little feeling about sloppy Thursday night. The pesky team sometimes pulls one out.
I'm a little surprised at how much San Fran's offense has struggled with Shanahan. I know they don't have a ton of weapons, but I thought they would be able to at least score.
They don't have any weapons, really, I don't think. Specifically speed. Garcon's a good, middle of the field, under 10-yard wide receiver, but really, it's Brian Hoyer. That's, not very good. I like Carlos Hyde. He had a good game last week, but Marquis good one. Pierre Garcon, not doing anything for me. They don't really have a tight end.
We get Sunday morning game with bagel and coffee from London. God bless the people in London. They get the Jaguars. The Ravens head over with the Jags for a Sunday morning affair.
Flacco.
I said Jags -5.
I said Ravens -6.
I'm sorry. I said Ravens -5. I'm sorry.
Hey, what's happening?
I was looking at a magazine as I was. Yeah, I said Ravens -5. It opened Ravens -4.5.
Wow. I thought you were looking at Keenan McCardell, Jimmy Smith, Mark Brunell, or something.
I really want to like the Jaguars in this spot.
So do I. I want to. The Ravens didn't look great, I didn't think, against the Browns. Once again, the Browns were playing their backup quarterback, which should say something. This, to me, could be a 6-3 type of game, because both defenses are really good.
One thing to note is this will be next week. Baltimore hosts Pittsburgh. No week off in between the trip to London.
Wow.
So they start with 3 out of 4 games in division. This is their only break with outside the division. So I think this could be a spot for a Jaguars play.
Yeah, I would agree. That's a really, really good nugget there. Both defenses are nasty. You know, they're both going to try to stop the run game and force the other quarterback to throw. I think the Ravens have a little more speed on offense with Wallace and Perriman and Buck Allen. The Jags really just have Leonard Fournette right now. That's what concerns me is that when the Ravens defense can make you one-dimensional and they know it, the other team usually really struggles.
Especially when Blake Bortles is your guy under center.
Yeah, because if the game's 3-3 in the third quarter or 6-3 and the Jags are down, he will force something, and that basically means game over.
Yes, I agree there.
I would like to see where that line moves to.
I agree. I think if it gets to 6.5, Jags are worth a look.
Agree.
To the awful game of the weekend in Indianapolis, Cleveland comes to town.
I said Colts -1 if Brissett gets the start again.
I said Browns -1, and for the second time in 30 years, the Browns are a road favorite. They're open -2.
Quarterback?
I had no clue. I just hate that Colts team.
Yeah, I actually don't care who's starting for the Browns at quarterback. I think Isaiah Crowell can win this game by himself, 7-0.
I will give Hugh Jackson credit. They do play hard.
Yeah, I love Hugh Jackson. You know, if they can find a quarterback, I love where the Browns are going eventually.
Kaiser's shown some signs. It's just a matter if he can stay healthy now.
Yeah, I lean Browns here. I like their roster better than the Colts.
I don't really want to touch this game, but I think I have to agree.
We have to make this an official pick or a lean come Sunday morning. We literally won't get a better chance to bet on 2 shittier teams all year.
I mean, do the Browns deserve to be giving points to anybody, though?
Yeah, the Colts. Yeah.
Are we getting into territory where Luck is just going to be shut down?
It's interesting now. We brought this up a couple weeks ago, and I think there could be some NBA tanksmanship going on here. He had a simple torn labrum, and he had surgery in early February. And I've had that surgery. Now, I'm not an NFL quarterback, but this is an extra long time for him to not be playing still.
So when he steps on the field, assuming next year, he'll be 29 years old. How many years have been wasted by Indianapolis?
Yeah, it's 29 is kind of a shocking number because I would have guessed 27. That's, you know, he can play till obviously mid to upper 30s, but instead of that 12 to 13 year franchise quarterback, you only got him for 7 to 8 years left.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about all the miles that LeBron has on him. Luck may have only been in the league for 6 years, but he got beat up for 6 years.
Yeah, and it's not like they're 4 or 5 pieces away. Their roster is the worst in the league, so that's going to take 3 or 4 years to rebuild at least. Flip them now. Flip them now.
If you're the Colts, what would you have to get back to flip them?
3 number ones plus.
If you're another team, would you do it?
depends on my team. What a team like
Bill O'Brien. I guess.
Yes. You know what team I would definitely do it right now is the Minnesota Vikings.
Was just about to say them.
Like that to me is a team. If you put Andy Luck on it, you're competing in the NFC.
To Chicago, Steelers come to town. I said Steelers -7.
I said Steelers 5.5.
Steelers open 7.5. I get this one.
Oh wow. I kind of like the Bears.
Something still seems off in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, they're not scoring as many points as I thought they would. They have not been able to run the ball at all, which I think is what's going on.
And I guess that goes to the point that Ben looks old.
Yeah, he does. I honestly believe him when he says this is his last year.
I think so too. I mean, along the lines of Luck, he's gotten beat up his whole career.
Oh God, this is basically his 16th year in the league. If you're talking about miles on the tires.
Yeah, I think if this stays above 7, the Bears are worth a look.
Especially with the hook. I know Glennon looked terrible last week, and we got to watch Jordan Howard. He did a sling. I just think home field, I think the Bears defense plays a little better. I don't expect Glennon to turn it over at the rate he did on the road. Kind of one of those things where I think it's going to be a close game, just like they had with the Falcons week 1.
As we mentioned earlier, Pittsburgh gets to look ahead to Baltimore in Baltimore next week.
Yeah, good point.
Moving right along to the Meadowlands. I mean, it's got to be awful to be the Meadowlands with the Jets and Giants this year.
God.
The Dolphins are in town. I said -6 Dolphins.
I said 4.5 Dolphins.
Open 6.5.
Man, I am low on these lines. Yeah, Jets stink. They don't have much talent anywhere on that roster. I thought Bilal Powell would at least have a good garbage year, but they haven't even given him a chance, really. I just can't see them scoring much more than 10 points against that Miami front. Could be a long day. As long as Smoking Jay plays the same way, digs, dunks, doesn't make turnovers. Under a touchdown doesn't seem like that many to be given.
I think this is a teaser candidate. But a question that I have, and I know it's like asking the wall when we ask this question, but why is Bryce Petty or Christian Hackenberg not playing?
Never understand why teams don't want to find out what they have when they're bad. I get the argument if you have something, if you can go 7-9 or at least be competitive, I get it for the fans' sake. But when you're going to stink, why are you trotting out a quarterback that's been washed up for 10 years now?
Makes zero sense
to me.
Sticking in New York, the Bills Mafia gets the Denver Broncos.
Impressive week off from Denver, so I have that built in the line a little bit here. I said Denver -5 on the road.
I said 4. It opened Denver -2.
Smelly!
The
odor alert right there. That is odorous.
The Broncos obviously opened Monday night. They had Dallas last weekend at home, this week in Buffalo, and next week another divisional game with the Raiders.
Yeah, that sandwich game has got to be factored in. That line just absolutely reeks. Oh my gosh.
What a spot for the Bills.
Yeah, I would like to see where this line heads, but this probably is going to have heavy public Denver. Line might go down a tick. People are going to jump on even more. I might just blindly bet the Bills, even though they're awful.
I think if it gets to 3, that's when you jump.
Yeah. Tyrod Taylor, mobile quarterback, maybe he makes a couple running plays and they win 17-14, something like that.
Don't know if you saw the highlight of the end of the game in Carolina. He just missed the receiver that would have won them the game.
No, I did not, but that's, him and Shady can sort of win you 1 or 2 games a year by themselves, so this is a very interesting one to me. I'm putting a star next to it to watch.
Be interesting to see Simeon on the road. He's looked good at home.
Yeah, good point, and they've been able to run it at home. On the road, that's a different story, and dealing with a tackle injury as well.
Um, to New England, they host the Texans.
I went crazy here. I said New England minus 12.
Not crazy enough. I said minus 10. It's New England minus 13.
Wow. Man. That's high. I know, obviously, they went to New Orleans and dropped the Saints, but that's a lot of points. Boy. Can Deshaun Watson keep this game close with his legs? I guess maybe that's the only hope.
They get a couple extra days playing Thursday. O'Brien had a great game plan last year in the playoffs if he just had a quarterback to execute it. I don't love backing a rookie quarterback against Belichick, though.
No, that's scary. The Texans traditionally, the last couple of years, have not been able to run it well either, which scares me. I don't know if Hopkins is 100%, and they've been completely depleted at the tight end position. And with a rookie quarterback, obviously, that's their security blanket. And my concern coming into the year with Houston was their secondary, which I don't like, obviously, in this matchup with Brady. So maybe this line isn't high enough.
Yeah, this is one to keep an eye on, definitely, to see where this goes.
Interesting. I think this line, I don't have any injury reports or anything, but I think this line might actually go up.
I could see that. You would think.
Scary, though.
Yeah.
I actually kind of like New England.
I don't think I could pull the trigger on 13, though.
Teaser. Teaser candidate.
To Carolina, they host the 0-2 Saints.
Carolina, I had the Panthers minus 4.5.
I had 5.5. I get this. It opens 6.
It's probably a fair line. I was just thinking in division, Carolina, it's not like I know they're 2-0, but they haven't looked very good. This should be a good matchup, but these two, when they play, something weird always seems to happen.
I agree. New Orleans has traditionally played Carolina well, especially at Carolina.
Yeah, it's just one of those games where you expect Drew Brees not to play well, and he'll throw for 500 yards just out of the blue.
I wouldn't think it's a look ahead, being that it's a divisional game, but Carolina does go to New England next week.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting look ahead. I want to say I like the Saints here, but I would like to see if I can get that to 7.
No line on this one yet, but just give me your quick thoughts. Tampa Bay at Minnesota.
Well, I guess with and without Sammy, I have Tampa minus 1.5 on the road with no Sammy. I actually have it Vikes minus 2 if he does play.
Yeah, I had 3.5 with, minus 1 without.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's Tom Brady, but he looked really good week 1, and he's one of those quarterbacks where I think he's valuable just because he doesn't lose you the game, and especially on a Vikings roster that we both think is chock full of talent. If you stick him in there, he can actually make a couple plays and lets the other team, especially the defense, really go to town, especially against Tampa Bay. I like the Vikings defense in this situation against Jameis Winston, but I think Sammy needs to play for me to hop on the Minnesota wagon.
I'll be interested to see Jameis on the road against a good defense.
Yeah, it will be a good early season test for him because last week, they blew the Bears out, but he didn't really have to do much.
Interesting game in Detroit coming off that Monday night win. They host Atlanta.
I have Atlanta 3.5.
I had Atlanta 3. You got it exactly.
Home dog getting a hook is pretty tantalizing to me. I hated Detroit starting the season. I had the under. Their 2-0 start almost kills that for me. They haven't looked great, though. I will say that. And Atlanta looked really good against Green Bay. Atlanta traditionally a different team on the road, but going to a dome, a little different story here. I would lean Atlanta, but I would like to see where this one goes as well.
I want to like Detroit in this spot, with Atlanta coming off that in a letdown spot after opening the stadium against Green Bay in a rematch. But I don't think I could pull the trigger on Detroit. I just don't trust them yet.
Yeah, I wanted to like them too. The concern I have, though, they can't run the ball, and I hate that about teams, especially when they're playing at home. Atlanta's got some speed on defense, which concerns me with the pressure. And to your point about the Packers game, that game was kind of over at halftime, so I kind of gave them time to regroup in the second half mentally. We'll see. If this gets down to 3, it makes it more interesting for me.
To Philly, they have their home opener. They host the Giants.
I have the Birds minus 4.5.
I had the -3. This line opened before the Giants game last night at 3.5. I believe I saw it's up to 6.
Wow. I mean, there's no way in hell I could like the Giants here. Maybe if it gets up to 7, I would consider it, but they just look terrible, and their offensive line issues are maybe the worst in the league besides Seattle. It seems like everyone's talking about Seattle's O-line issues, but not the Giants. The Eagles' defensive line should have a field day here.
Are we going to see a healthy Odell Beckham this year?
That's a good question. He looked like a decoy to me last night. I think it takes him 5 or 6 weeks. It's tough when you're playing on it, though, for it to get fully healthy. This is a bad spot for the Giants. This could be a start of a free fall.
Is there any scenario where McAdoo's job is in danger?
Oh, interesting question. I don't know. What is this, year 3?
Year
4?
2. Year 2.
I wouldn't say it's out of the question. It wouldn't seem like the way the Giants usually handle business. I would say it's a long shot, but if the team completely implodes and guys are just mouthing off and quitting, then I think it has to be on the table at least.
Any status on Janoris Jenkins if he's going to play?
What you said there?
Janoris Jenkins, is he going to play? Technology at its finest.
Yeah, you started breaking up, and I was worried it was about to cut.
No problem. My question was, any status on Janoris Jenkins?
I didn't even know he was going to be out before last night's game, maybe 2 hours before. I saw ankle injury. I don't know how bad it is, but I haven't seen anything additional.
Interesting one in Tennessee. The Chickens come to town. I had Tennessee -1.
I had it as a pick 'em.
I got this one exactly. Tennessee -1.
This is a big game, I think, for both these teams. I actually do not have a lean right now. I think Seattle's defense is going to really get up for this one, but, that offense worries me a little bit.
I hate Mike Mularkey. I want to like Tennessee.
I know. Is DeMarco Murray 100%, going to be 100%? Kind of a question mark. Man, I don't know. Something in my gut tells me to take Seattle here just because I don't see them going 1-2 and dropping their first 2 road games like this.
It does seem like the moment you count out Pete Carroll, they deliver one of those performances.
Yeah, and they just looked so bad last week. I don't see that happening again.
To the soccer stadium, they host the Chiefs.
Good spot here for the wagon to get off the schneid. I think we need them to start moving here. Almost a must-win game, I think, or else they'll be 3 behind in the division. I said the Chiefs -2.
I had Chiefs -4. We split it. It opened -3. If we could get it at 3.5, I do like the
Definitely.
Chargers.
Yes, I would definitely take the hook here if we could find that.
I believe Kansas City has Washington next week. I thought they had a division game, but they host Washington.
No, they have a bye week next week. Freebie win.
Threw me off there for a second, but now I got it. To Green Bay, they host the new offensive coordinator and the Bengals.
I said Packers -10.
Got it exactly. I had it -8.
Jordy Nelson looks like he's going to be 50-50 with a thigh contusion. Randall Cobb also questionable with a shoulder injury. I don't think it matters. Cincinnati looked just dreadful on both sides of the ball. It's a must-win game for them. The Packers, though, it's not like they can afford to drop one here at 1-1 with the Lions 2-0. That line's too high, but I think this is a great teaser candidate.
Any chance another game where Dalton struggles, we see our boy A.J. McCarron?
I freaking hope so. I mean, if he throws 2 picks in the first half, how do you not put McCarron in the game?
I agree. Do you think we're going to start to see more of Joe Mixon?
Another shocking absence, Joe Mixon. Why not play your best player at running back? Jeremy Hill and Gio Bernard have proved to you what they are the last 5 years.
The Bengals. Sunday night in Landover, the Las Vegas Raiders in town.
I said the Raiders giving 24.
You said
I have the Raiders -4.
I said 3. We split it 3.5.
Interesting spot here. I want to like the home team again, but I think the Raiders put up 40 here because it's a primetime game.
Jordan Reed, in or out?
Well, based on his history, if he's questionable, he's usually out. So, pretty big loss there. They're calling it an AC joint sprain. He had this last year and he missed 2 games. So I would assume that he is out. You never know. I just don't think the Redskins offense can keep up. Rob Kelly also going to be questionable with rib cartilage injury. Too many weapons on Oakland. It will be fun to watch Norman versus Crabtree or Norman versus Cooper. But other than that, this could be a slaughtering on national TV.
So if they drop this week, they go to Kansas City next week.
And they get slaughtered again.
At 0-4, is Gruden on the hot seat?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. They'll hire Chip Kelly mid-season.
Did you see your boy Santana Moss and RG3 are at it?
Yeah. Looks like RG3 is saying he betrayed him. I'm sure this will escalate to something, but there's no way anyone could believe RG3 over Santana Moss.
I mean, the way the story comes out, it's certainly believable what happened from Santana Moss's perspective.
It's 100% believable.
Monday night, Dallas at Arizona.
I had Dallas bouncing back, giving 3 points in Arizona.
You got it at open 3.5. I said 4.5.
Kind of low, actually. I know I guessed 3, but I think I like Dallas here to bounce back. Everyone's ripping them for their performance in Denver, specifically Zeke. Arizona near the bottom of the league in rushing defense. I think Zeke goes bananas. Carson Palmer looked equally dreadful as he did week 1 in week 2 in Indianapolis. I think the Cardinals might be one of those decent teams that is actually really bad.
Yeah, I think this is a great bounce back spot for Dallas. I think a lot of people will count them out after the way they lost last week.
Monday night football too, so you would have to expect them to put on a show.
I'm with you.
So I early lean there to the Dallas Cowboys.
We'll be back later in the week to give out leans, possibly a pick or two. Great job by you today.
Golf clap to the host. Looking forward to it.
Talk to you soon.
See you, bud.